what's better than one medium format camera? Two of them. I've got the GFX 102 right here, as well as the GFX 100S. And today I'm going to give you a side-by-side comparison video. This is just what it looks like on paper with each camera to help you decide which one is going to be right for you. My name is Andrew. Welcome to the Lens Rentals channel. So let's get right into today's video. Looking at the sensors for both of these cameras. These are medium format cameras, and they both sport a 102 megapixel sensor. They both have 5-axis image stabilization, and they're both photo and video cameras. Hybrid medium format cameras are the future. They both have a really impressive ISO range, though the GFX 102 goes a little bit further, with the base ISO being able to be extended down to 40, whereas the GFX 100S can only go down to 50. I should make mention that is for photo. For video, the Fuji can drop down to a base of 100, and apparently it is a cleaner and clearer, lower ISO setting for this camera. For photographers who like continuous shooting, the GFX 100S can shoot up to 5 frames per second at 102 megapixels, while the GFX 102 can shoot up to 8 frames per second at the same megapixels. That's 16 frames raw versus 76 frames raw. That's very fast. And both of these can utilize the electronic shutter. The GFX 100S can do about 23 frames per second, while the GFX 102 can do 390 frames per second. This camera is a speed demon. It's insane. Something I love to do with these medium format cameras is to change the aspect ratio in which I am taking photos with. And these cameras have a large array of options. Each one can do a 4x3, a 16x9, a 1x1, and a 3x2, but the GFX 102, again, takes it up another level. You can do 65x24, 5x4, or 7x5. They can both shoot raw, and their bit depth is 16. Moving on to a video side by side, here's where the GFX 2 really starts to pull ahead. I feel like Fuji just wanted to flex on all of us here because this camera is incredibly impressive to use. And I personally have never really thought to utilize a medium format camera for video. I don't know, I have other options, but this was a blast to use. For internal video codec recording modes, the GFX 100S shoots H.265 or H.264. It's 4K, it looks great, it's a super sharp image with the glass that you can put on these cameras. It looks awesome. The H.265 codec is a 420 codec, and it's rendered at 10-bit, while the H.264 codec is rendered at 8-bit. To record 422 10-bit or 12-bit RAW, you have to record via an HDMI, which is pretty common. That's a very common thing to experience with cameras like this. That's a lot of internal power for a hybrid camera. All right, let's move on to the GFX 102 because here's where things get spicy. The internal recording modes for this camera are H.264, H.265, MP4, as well as ProRes. We also have 8K recording capabilities with the GFX 102, which is incredible. If you want to record via HDMI, you can get 422 10-bit out of this camera, as well as raw recording up to 8K. While I was using this to record my friend Jonathan play the violin, I was incredibly impressed by the internal microphone on this camera. Now, I wouldn't do interviews or anything like that with it, but picking up the ambient sounds of him playing in the greenhouse was pretty amazing. It sounded really, really good. All the connecting ports, HDMI, audio, things like that are the same, though this does have a data port. So those are the specs. Talking about the feel of each camera, I mean, they both feel great in the hand, though I think that Fuji upgrading and kind of adding this like rubberized stylings onto this camera make it feel a little bit more robust. It reminds me a lot of Canon's rubbered hand grips and things like that. It's not that the rubber is new, because the OG GFX 100S has that as well, but the texture on this rubber just feels really good in the hand. The plastic is also really nice. It feels kind of brush as opposed to the smoother plastic on the GFX 100S, and that also feels really nice in the hand. I don't have a scale, and I can probably put down the size and weight of each one of these, but just holding them in my hands, the GFX 102 does feel a little heavier. I did notice that while it was around my neck and in my hands while I was holding my friend Jonathan, it felt a little heavy. It felt a little uncomfortable at times. I mentioned the EVF on the GFX 100S as being really great, and I mentioned that I really loved the GFX 102's EVF, but here's something I love even more. With a pinch of a couple buttons, I can slide it off, and I can now attach other things to that hot shoe. I really, really like that. It was very cool. I kind of geeked out about that a little bit more than I should have when I first discovered that. Other than that, I love the giant LCD screens that Fuji has put on the top of each one of their cameras to be able to show us our settings and things like that. And I love that they carried over the option to cycle through the different settings like you can on the GFX 100S to the GFX 102. I love being able to see my histogram on the top of my camera, so as I'm looking down, I can know to make sure my exposure is more or less correct. If you're looking for a phenomenal medium format hybrid camera, the GFX 100S is going to be great for you. Now, that being said, if you are doing any kind of sports, action photography, if you need those super high frames per second, or if you are trying to film something with the highest possible quality, then the GFX 102 is your option. I'm curious to know what you think. How do you think these two stack up against one another? And which one do you want? All right. Until the next one, my friends, I'll see you real soon. Peace.